Hello, are you or someone you know wanting a job but not quite sure about your future? My name is Cynthia Owens, and I am excited to bring to you a process called person-centered planning, which can be used as an employment tool. My son Andy, who's 27 years old, has been working at Powell Bookstore now for 6.5 years, used a person-centered plan during his high school years through his transition process. Andy and our family's journey began with the employment of person-centered planning in 2000. At that time, our family had never dreamed that Andy would be employed as an adult. As his mother, who has to do everything for him because of his disability, I saw someone who needed help getting dressed, brushing his teeth, combing his hair, and feeding. I was looking at him with limited vision, not seeing how many things he had to offer that could lead to employment. Andy has taught us, like anything worthwhile, employment takes determination, thoughtful planning, hard work, and teamwork. For us, that began with a person-centered plan. This video is created by a collaboration of people with a common vision that everyone can work. By viewing this video, we hope that you will share in our enthusiasm and learn about person-centered planning, whether you are seeking your first job or pursuing a career. On behalf of the Oregon Council on Developmental Disability, welcome to A Journey to Employment using person-centered planning as a guide.
The person-centered planning process really allows anybody to be able to work out in the community. It allows for folks with even the most significant disabilities to be able to work when other people have said maybe in their past that they can't. Because when you're getting all the people that really know that person and truly believe that they can work in one room to kind of feed off each other about what are the great strengths and abilities of this person, you kind of see everybody get that aha moment and say, wow, we could really do this for somebody.
At yesterday's session, I learned quite a bit compared to what I knew very little about prior to that.
It's another thing to gather us all together and, most importantly, to get her viewpoint and then to see it. You know, to see it hanging up there and then to also have it documented.
If every student had a person-centered plan in place, it would make the IEP and transition planning process a lot easier.
I think the sooner you start doing these things and getting involved and finding out what's available and getting these plans in place, the sooner you'll see the benefits.
We're here for Brianna's person-centered planning meeting today, and before we get started, what I'd like to do is have everybody to say who they are and how long they've known Brianna and what's your relationship with Brianna. So I think we'll start. It's okay, can we start on this side?
Sure. I'm Alan Jones, I'm Brianna's dad.
And I am Kathleen Harriet, and I work for STRI Brokerage as Brianna's personal agent, and I've known her now for a little less than a year.
I'm Steve Bear. I'm a transition teacher with the Beaverton School District. I had the pleasure of having Brianna in my program for her last year in the school district, and I've known her for 3 years.
Brianna? How long have you known yourself? 21 years. I forget. Okay.
I'm Arturo de la Cruz. I'm the art counselor.
Uh-huh.
And known you about close to 2 years. job coach or
Dirk's is We have two terms to learn: customized employment and person-centered planning. First, what does customized mean? It means made to fit or match. When we go shopping, we customize what we're shopping for. We look for a certain size. Is it small, medium, or large? Are we looking for a certain kind of clothing? Maybe we're looking for a dress. Sometimes we look for pants or a shirt. And we also think about color. Maybe in the winter we like darker colors, and in the summer we look for vibrant colors. Or I love red, so I might be always looking for red. We also might look for a certain kind of style. Maybe it's casual, maybe it's dressy. Customized employment isn't just a fad word. It comes from terms from the U.S. Department of Labor. Customized employment means individualizing the employment relationship between employees and employers in ways that meet the needs of both. Customized employment may include employment developed through job carving, self-employment, entrepreneurial initiatives, or other job development or restructuring strategies that result in job responsibilities being customized. Again, this is from the Federal Register for the U.S. Department of Labor. We also want to talk about person-centered planning. And this is a process that assists an individual and those that are close to them to plan and implement a positive future. Often this is used as a blueprint or like a map to chart specific actions for the future about what that person wants to do or where they want to go and how they want to connect with other opportunities in the community. For the purposes of this video, we wanted to talk about person-centered planning and how it can be used from thinking about bridging school as a roadmap to going to work, or it could be for adults that are unemployed that are seeking employment for the first time or want to look at a career path. Person-centered planning is a global process, and so we're looking at the people and the places and the kind of situations that person is in currently and looking for the future. It's different than the traditional systems planning processes because the person chooses who they want involved in their meetings, and that helps to drive the service. And because people know the person and the community, they can contribute important information. It does not replace those formal processes, but it certainly can help to provide pertinent, specific, and practical information for those plans, such as who needs to be involved, the partners that need to be involved in developing the plan, the goals, or in this case, the employment goal for the plan, what kinds of objectives and what kinds of strategies are needed for the future.
When people are thinking about doing a person-centered plan, they want to first of all think about their overall partners, who they want to have involved to help them plan. People invite people from all areas of their lives. It's as if they're looking at different domains or different areas of their lives and inviting people who know and like them from each, from your friends and family, as well as your school, or perhaps your brokerage or Department of Vocational Rehabilitation, or a job developer, next door neighbor, all kinds of people. All of these people can contribute to your plan. Before the meeting, people make a list of the partners, and then they invite them, usually by sending an invitation. Like any party invitation that says when, where, and explains generally the purpose for the meeting, which is really twofold. One is to bring ideas to share, to help the person plan or think about their future. And the other, of course, is to celebrate the unique and amazing human being that person is. Prior to the meeting, in addition to making a list of people to come to the meeting, people sit down with their facilitator and collect information about their history. During this pre-meeting, people consider their highlights, important dates, people or places, memorable events. They get information that happens about things that they activities or things that are important about home, school life, or even work life. Don't forget to also include and collect information about responsibilities, chores, pets, volunteer experiences, school, work, service clubs, as well as jobs for pay. This information is collected and then written up on a large piece of paper that can be shared to the rest of the group at the meeting so that they have a better understanding of that person's story and where they are coming from.
We're going to talk about your strengths, gifts, and capacity and the things that you're good at. And I'm going to ask the crew to kind of think about, when you think about Brianna, what are the things that you think about?
Pleasant personality.
Pleasant personality. Can you talk about that?
She's got a great memory. I mean, just in talking this morning, she's mentioned lots of dates, so she's very good at remembering the dates of an event that's going to take place in the future or something that's taken place in the past. So her memory is excellent.
When she was in the transition program, many times when we needed to be reminded of things, if we said, hey, Brianna, remind me on Thursday that I need to do this, or I need to go to this location, she would always, it was Thursday, Mr. Barry, you have an appointment at 11 this morning, so even though I had it written in my calendar.
She's very observant.
Hey! Dad!
Even though if you think she's not paying attention, she's got her ears open. She knows what's going on.
No, stop it. Oh, that's a good trait though, because you know what's going on. You're looking around making sure things are happening, right? That's a very good thing.
Yeah,
But
even
you're
if
doing-
the room is really busy, or if we're in a store or shopping center or wherever it is, what you think she's looking at, she still knows what's going on around her, and she can give you some details of who passed by just now, your son would be.
So you're concerned, you're observant, but you're also concerned. You're watching out for other people as well. You think about that.
She's very compassionate and caring towards others, whether it's fellow students or adults or children or even animals. She's very compassionate towards others.
So these are a lot of reasons. Being observant, but also, you're not only observant, you're also, there's certain things that you're looking for. You're watching out for people, and you're taking in what's happening around you. That's very good.
During the meeting, we want to consider several different categories in both a formal and informal way, and to collect information about what a person is good at. In strengths and gifts, you want to create a portrait of competence. You want to collect stories from the group that identify skills and abilities, and identify positive attributes, interests, and preferences. You want to collect information about the things that a person is good at, what people know they are interested in and do. These could include hobbies, activities, clubs, reputations, chores, personal interest. We want people at this meeting to be specific and to consider the skill set inherent in each story. For example, if you're a person who can ride a bicycle, that tells you that you're a person who has good balance, who has coordination, that maybe has a sense of direction. If you're a person who can cook, it tells us something about your ability to sequence, to measure. It tells us about how you can use time and use other kinds of tools. All of these things help us to build a positive portrait of who you are and what you can do. A good facilitator will collect stories at meetings like these. We'll think about the stories that people tell, and from them extract the essential skill sets that can be then applied to the world of work.
So we're going to move on to the next one, which is what works and doesn't work.
Actually,
Normally, that one that taught me how to
oh,
do.
Devin did. Okay. During Brianna's time in the Beaverton Transition Program, we did go ahead and start up a little bit of the riding the lift bus, the TriMet lift bus, which is door to door, and then graduating from that to learning the routes for riding the regular TriMet bus to at least go from Sunset High School to the Interstate ride.
Brianna, because of her strong reading abilities, we teach students several different ways, but we were able just to print out the regular schedule for her that anybody else would on the TriMet webpage, and then we had a staff member just basically ride along with her till we felt she was comfortable with the route, understood the route, understood all the safety issues of walking to the bus stop.
It's really a pattern. She's really good at working with patterns and understanding patterns, and that's
Following
following a routine is really a pattern to follow. It's a sequence of steps. So even in her work routines and so forth, and build the routine up by doing it multiple times.
It's a repetition.
The repetition like that, sometimes it takes her a little longer in some things, sometimes she picks up real fast. But once she's got it, she's got it.
Another category of information that needs to be collected is considered in what works and doesn't work. In this section, the facilitator will collect information about what allows a person to be successful and to consider the parameters, day, night, times of day, environment, situations, people, ways of learning. Consider all those parameters around a job or a potential living situation. Consider strategies, the kinds of things that people who know and like that person have used in order to be successful. Consider learning styles. Again, capture the details, times of day, person learning from left to right, color coding, pictures, visual, kinesthetic. Getting the details helps people to build a picture of how to best support a person in the workplace. Consider interests and preferences, and not just barriers, but rather a call to strategy. The details, again, will help you figure out how to best problem solve and be creative when you're thinking about success. Consider interests and preference and clearly identify things that just won't work. For example, if a person says, I get a terrible rash on my hand when exposed to cleaning fluids, or I am not at all interested in working outdoors, you want to pay attention to this because already this sets up some ideas that can allow you to place and match a person successfully.
Now, I think we're going to go ahead and go on to dreams, possibilities around work. And what I'd like everyone to do is to think about certainly things that you and your family have thought about for you for work, but I'd also like the group to think about all of these things that you're good at and that you enjoy doing and that you're interested in, and all the things that work and others don't work. And think, if I know somebody with these kinds of skills and abilities, what are the kinds of work, what are the kinds of duties or job tasks that would fit me? So that's what I'd like you to think about. So
She would be great at delivering mail and packages and things at a business, like I know Nike campus and some of the big business.
or courier kind of thing.
Courier kind of things, because she's got a great memory, she's very personable. It wouldn't mean that she'd have to be around a lot of people at one time, but she'd still be seeing a variety of people all day long, and she'd just be very good at getting that kind of.
Yeah.
Even on site, she can do some of that stuff. She's got experience with FC Portland a couple times now where she's gone and helped them on their, tryout days and so forth, keeping the numbers of the athletes organized and turned in.
Working in some place where she might have to do some type of filing or sorting, lawyer's office, doctor's office, things like that, where she knows she can match things pretty well, names and.
Yeah, I think a good selling point, if you would present a mail delivery, if she would apply for a job like that, would be that she'd be able to do other office work as well. If it's a smaller place, that the
Right.
mail might not be delivered to hundreds of employees. If it's a smaller place, that still has an inter-office mail system, but she would also be able to do other office.
We're thinking about dreams and possibilities. What we do is we ask the group to go back and look at the strengths and gifts and capacities, look at what works and doesn't work, look at past history, look at all the previous work done to that point, and then think about and brainstorm possible jobs, or instead of just specific jobs, job tasks and places that make sense for the person that fit. Again, customizing fit their particular skills and abilities and their preferences. For example, with Brianna, we heard her excellent skills at organizing, matching images, sorting, possible things that could be done in an office. And some of the group thought about office kinds of work and using her skills and her abilities around attention to detail. We also want to be sure that we think about the types of businesses and the types of places that might fit that person as far as, again, the culture, the kind of setting, is it a big company, is it a small place, what kinds of things that actually fit that person around what we've learned in the meeting. While we're brainstorming, we also want to be sure with the group that we're working with that we get very specific names and resources that are local from the group, because they really know Is it a friend of Uncle Joe's, or it's possibly somebody that the teacher knows? We want to get the names of those people and any kind of contact information about them so that we can use that in the future. When we're thinking about dreams and possibilities, certainly consider the dreams that the person has and his or family have about the future. You want to get very specific details and build a positive vision of a possible job that might fit. Now, sometimes people come up with dreams and ideas that maybe some of the people in the group don't think are realistic. For example, we've sometimes run across someone that says, oh, I want to be Superman for their job or their ideal job. And people say, well, of course, that's not possible. But what we really want to think about is to ask questions about what does that really mean? If you were Superman, what would that look like? And to find out, often we have found that what's behind that is somebody that really wants to help others, that wants to wear a uniform of some kind, that wants to be seen as a helper in the community and recognized and a valued person. So we want to think about not just what is literally said in the meeting, but also what is behind the dream or the possibility that the person is thinking about.
I think as a family, it points towards a lot of possibilities for Brianna, where we were very good at, this is part of being a good parent, or what I think of as being a good parent, where we try to keep her as safe as possible, but yet we want her to grow and develop into her own person. But the plan gives us maybe a better feel for what possibilities are out there for her and where we can maybe do a little bit more letting go, allowing her to do that growth instead of coddling her overly. So maybe the stretching is not just a stretching for Brianna, but it's a stretching for our family.
We got it, so we're gonna think about that, but let's go back, I'm gonna go way back to what you had talked about with, in the current situation, we're thinking about
Maybe increasing her hours at dinner time, right? Because we have a really good working relationship with the owner there. The owner likes having Brianna there and sees really a lot of value with Brianna working in his business as an individual, as a person, but also as an employee, paid employee.
I can give you this copy of this plan so that you can start looking at possibilities, but would it be helpful to actually get any more information about any of this would it be helpful to have a meeting to talk about any more of this, or?
It definitely could be. I mean, this is an extremely broad meeting. It's provided a wealth of information for me, but I think we can kind of dig in a little bit deeper to talk about the specifics. I've got a lot of questions that are coming up for me just by being able to witness this.
Okay, so who would be involved in that next kind of meeting to really kind of delve into some of these things in more detail?
We've come up with some dreams and possibilities. Then the most important part of the whole plan is the next steps. We want to, again, think about looking at the previous maps and specifically around the dreams and possibilities. We want to think about can we do a next step, something that is doable and can be done in the next, in a short amount of time, maybe in the next month or 2 months, that can start going towards that dream. We don't want it to be such a broad plan that we're not doing something for another year because you lose the momentum of getting started on the task. You might ask the group, because sometimes people have a lot of ideas about dreams and possibilities, we might want to ask the group, of the things that we have identified for the future, is there one area that you want to start working on first, so that you can narrow the possibilities, so you aren't having a huge list of next steps for people. Again, you want to identify concrete, doable next steps and be very specific. In addition, we will write who is responsible and when he or she will complete the task. Now, something that groups often like to do is to name somebody outside of the group to be responsible for the task. But in this case, we really want to think about who's in the group that can be the responsible person. And if they can't actually accomplish the task, what is a step that, do they need to talk to somebody or to make some kind of connection with somebody that can help accomplish the task, and when will that occur? So that it's very much the people in the room that are responsible for the implementation of the plan. Then you're going to, once you've identified the one area to begin with, then again continue with other possible future ideas and developing 1 or 2 steps for each area. If there are too many tasks listed to accomplish, then oftentimes people get overwhelmed and the plan does not get implemented. So we suggest that you limit the number of next steps.
A person-centered planning process is phenomenal. It's been such a critical tool that we use on every single person that enters our program.
It's definitely a clarifying tool to get to know Brianna more, to get her voice out there.
Brianna had a person-centered plan before she entered the transition program. Instead of having to reinvent the wheel, I had this nice document that her mom gave me before she even entered the program, so I had a good idea of what direction we needed to head with her and basically what I needed to do to help facilitate and help Brianna obtain her future goals.
Makes my job easier in the sense that at least there's some stuff ready to go, some goals ready to look at, versus in other type of environments, client has no idea what to pursue, and so definitely this cuts down a lot of time.
It allows for you to see pretty quickly by people who really know the person inside and out what their skills are, where their interests are, what their dreams are, and then you can take that information and go with it to the business community and see if you can find that particular match.
I'm going to talk about how to use the person-centered plan for employment once the actual meeting is over. When the big pieces of paper are typed up in sort of a usable size, you can use all that information as a script and sort of as a blueprint for the search. On the Strengths, Gifts, and Capacity page, you can take keywords and use them in these ways. You can use that as a script in terms of the job developing itself to describe the person to potential employers. I am representing a person who is strong, enthusiastic, and pays attention to detail. This person loves hats. That's why I'm here at your hat factory. So that you're building the connection between the person and the employer on common interest, not in terms of disability. You can also use it as a script to prepare for the person themselves for interviews or to approach the workplace or to describe themselves, so that you can use the words, I am a visual learner, I am enthusiastic, I love computers, so that you can use this to start encouraging the person themselves to take ownership of the job search and to be ready to talk to other people about their skills, interests, and preferences. You can also use it to assemble a skill-based resume or portfolio so that you can think about using those very words and images to support those words in some kind of document that can be shown to employers. The last piece is you want to consider places in the community where that specific strengths, gifts, and capacities of an individual is valued. So in other words, wherever those skill sets are valued, that's where you really want to go. Rather than just going to any job that's open or available, you want to consider, again, the match. You want to consider in what places are people with those descriptors also doing work and where they would value a person like that's being described in that particular way.
Well, I think one of the benefits of person-centered planning is the time factor. You're not having to spend so much time and energy really trying to figure out what works for this person. So from many different angles, both monetarily to just time, you're able to go into that business and say, here we go, here let's create a position based on this person's needs and based on your business needs. And you're really looking at it in a creative way that meets everybody's needs.
The next one, works and doesn't work, is really used to develop support strategies. You can think about using strategies that have been used in other environments and also apply them to the workplace. So if a person works well with a checklist when they're doing chores at home, they might also benefit from having that same type of checklist in the workplace. You can use this by identifying the learning style so that you're thinking about, is this person a hands-on kinesthetic learner, and applying that to how you're going to teach them new tasks. and being able to adapt to new situations. You can use it in terms of if they're a visual person, an auditory person, and consider what kinds of supports would they need other than a human being to succeed, because that will allow you to devise exactly the right kind of support. Bill is visual. Show him, leave him an example, and make a picture checklist. Then he's not going to need a job coach standing at his side, but rather someone to invent some kind of system that will allow him to succeed. You also want to use this sheet as a way to screen for conditions that enhance success. So, if Bill says in his meeting, "I love to dress formally," the office attire, suit and tie that is present in this particular workplace already has your attention as a place where the person might fit in and do very well. Strategize. Lastly, strategize. These are not a list of obstacles and barriers or issues and solutions, but rather these are all calls for problem-solving, invention, and collaboration, so that you're using the information that you've collected about a person to figure out, well, if they can succeed in these other environments, how can we then devise similar kinds of strategies that will allow the person to succeed in their new workplace.
And there's a lot more independence and maybe talents there that I didn't realize were actually there, because as a family member, I think we see these things on a daily basis, but we don't realize they're really talents or gifts. We just figure this is Brianna.
Lastly, how to use the person-centered plan when you're thinking about dreams and possible jobs. As Tara said, you want to list all possible job categories that might fit the person. You want to consider the specifics of that dream. What is it that people are talking about when they're talking about their idea for themselves in a workplace? And lastly, you want to think about all the resources that people bring to that meeting. You want to list people, agencies, and businesses that might help realize the dream. You want to use that planning group as an informal directory of resources and businesses. You want to find out who they know relative to the occupations, tasks, and jobs that are outlined in the meeting. And again, be specific. As in, my uncle is a computer repair person, as opposed to, there are a number of computer places that might be looked at. If people have actual ideas of people and places and addresses and phone numbers, the more specific the better. The easier it's going to be for people to use this plan, start to finish, as a guide to actually realizing the dream of a person succeeding in that particular workplace.
There are a lot of the supports that beforehand, at least I was not necessarily aware of, and this gives you the reality that it's not just you as a parent who's trying to solve these problems for your child, but there's actually a larger support network out there, and this gives them something to work from, to provide the supports. And it's a continual process to go through. This isn't our first person-centered plan. It won't be our last one. We've been real heavily focused on employment here, but as we go forward and kind of get Brianna's feet on the ground there, we can have additional plans to look for things like independence, how can she, live on her own and be more independent, and we can focus on those in future plans.
I've learned Brianna's a lot more capable than I initially thought of, and so a lot of it is about me letting go.